This week on the podcast, we are joined by CuppyCup from Ain't Slayed Nobody. We talk about... Oh man, what do we talk about? We talk about Stray Souls. We've got a little bit of news, just a little bit of news about Microsoft and some Humble Bundle news. All of that and more in this week's episode of the podcast. Roll the intro. You're scatting. Question mark?
Comma? Question mark? Exclamation mark?
Your scatting gets better every week, Mendacii.
Oh, well, you allow me to practice, so I appreciate it.
Hello and welcome to Next to Nothing, a podcast for gamers on a budget. I'm your host, Danie K. With me, as always, the wonderful, the beautiful, the Mr. Green Elite. Green, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I can breathe through my nose. I can taste things. I can smell. Which is great, and also not great. I can smell you. So yeah, I'm doing all right. I got some new dice in today, and my dog. I can hear my dog in the background. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Excellent.
Dog got a hold of those dice.
We're also joined by the spooky and the ookly, the Mendacii. Mendacii, how you doing?
Well, that was very spooky and ookly. I'm just getting over this frog in my throat. For the last 3 days, I sounded like Vin Diesel ate James Earl Jones. We're good, man. We're getting there. I got a little bit of like a flange, but it's decent. It's decent.
Excellent. We are also joined by CuppyCup from Ain't Slayed Nobody. Cuppy, for anyone who has not met you yet, who are you? What do you do? And where can people find it?
Yeah. So, well, first, thanks for having me on. I am a little intimidated after looking at your show sheet since I don't know anything about these topics, but I'm going to do my best. So I am the producer and keeper of Arcane lore for Ain't Slayed Nobody, which is a Call of Cthulhu podcast. And I've had some online interactions with Mendacii, so he asked me if I would join y'all for the evening. And it's at ain'tslayednobody.com, or just search Ain't Slayed Nobody on your podcast app.
Excellent.
The promo in there.
Oh, yeah. No, plug yourself away, my guy.
Yeah, that's the big thing, man. I want bi-weekly episodes of Ain't Slayed Nobody. Go and listen to them. And if you think that they do a great job, you should then hit up their Patreon, which you can find me yelling about on Twitter, or Cup yelling about on Twitter, on the Ain't Slayed Twitter. Because if we can help that show grow, that would mean a lot to me. It's a show that, despite being all about a whole bunch of people trying not to go fucking mad, it helped me stave off my own madness of dealing with quarantine and dealing with the outbreak, and just having this awesome story with amazing characters, a great cast, and Cup, don't be humble. You're an amazing lore keeper. It is so stellar, and the amount of work that you put into every episode, man, like you hooked me immediately, episode 1. So please go give them a shot.
Thank you for that. I should have just let you do the plug from the beginning. That was much better. But it's a good time to jump in because we're in between seasons, and season 2 is starting March 1st. Or February, I can't say that month, February 22nd, if you're a patron. So we have a free wolf pack and a paid posse.
Excellent.
Was that a wolf pack?
The wolf pack.
The wolf pack. Drop the L, add an O.
I've already been trapped on season 2, which I'm editing now. Can't say the word wolf, so it's a running gag on the show. Can't do it.
That was a pretty good gush there, Mendacii.
Thanks.
I felt the gush.
Yeah, for like a month.
You gushed all over our faces.
I did.
I'm gonna go strip the audio and then put it into the show. It'll just be the teaser now.
Do it. But guys, go check out CuppyCup. Go check out Ain't Slayed Nobody. It is on my to do for tomorrow to listen. I was on my to do today to listen to the first episode or two of season 1. But I got caught up with a bunch of stuff at work and it didn't happen. So that's what my plan is for tomorrow. But guys, thanks for watching and listening to the show. If you miss any part of this show, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. If you want to join us live, you can join us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time on twitch.tv/DanieK, spelled DANIECAE. If you guys want to be a part of the show, we do have a question of the week every week. This week, our question brought to us by our wonderful guest is, what property would you like to see turned into a tabletop RPG? And Cup, I'm going to go right to you. What property would you like to see turned into a TTRPG?
Right. So I have a silly answer and a real answer, I think, for this. So I was actually looking around to see what existed because I'm pretty new to tabletop role playing, and I think I'm surprised there's not a Jurassic Park game. Ooh. I thought that might be fun, especially if you can play as the dinosaurs. That, oddly enough, that's my serious answer. I was thinking that it might be fun to do a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids tabletop RPG. It's like something about being able to run around as a microscopic person is appealing to me.
Why are you punching me in the nostalgia?
Right.
Like I just had a day of nostalgia yesterday. We were talking, my fiance and I were like, remember floppy disks? Now you got me thinking of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh.
I live in the late 80s, early 90s. I never came out of that pop culture phase. So I'm sure we'll get plenty of that tonight.
Remember Slime, dude?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I watched the NFL playoffs on Nickelodeon with all the slime. It was incredible.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Mendacii, what property would you turn into a tabletop RPG?
You gave me over 24 hours to think about this. And I really honestly, man, so hard. I think I'm going to have to go with just a random answer that I kind of come up with yesterday. And that'd be Monster Hunter.
Okay.
Because it'd be really easy to kind of make it continue. And then, of course, instead of just doing classes, you would do weapons. But those weapons need to be able to be swapped out just as easy as they can be in the game, where the whole mechanic is essentially more like a combat style TTRPG, so a little bit more involved, probably closer to Pathfinder's combat system, but it's all about trying to track down a certain monster. Maybe it's destroying a village or something, and then kill it, skin it, and then rolling to see what parts you get and seeing if you can make better gear. I think that would be a pretty fun RPG. But at the same time, it's kind of I could just go play Monster Hunter though, but I do like throwing dice. It's hard.
Green, how about you?
Okay. All right. Hear me out. All right. Demon Slayer as a tabletop RPG. All right. You start from final selection, your character, the first encounter is final selection, and you work your way up to Hashira, and throughout the whole tabletop RPG experience. I think it would be stellar. I think someone needs to put it in action.
So that's
How
not.
do you find out what color your sword is, though?
I mean,
do you get to choose?
I would assume. I mean, I feel like that would be something you can build yourself. I mean, it really just depends because each class, you could pick each class could be with different breathing techniques, stuff like that. So, hey, I'm eventually going to be the flame Hashira, or the water Hashira. So, my sword's going to be blue.
Black, just black.
What if
I know the reason why his sword is black, but
no spoilers here.
No, I'd say a full theory. However, I am pretty sure I know why.
Gotcha. See, that was a little out of left field for you. I was thinking, not in terms of the things that you enjoy, but I was thinking you're going to go for Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Avatar would be amazing too, I would be here for it.
I think there
But
is. I think there is one coming out soon. But
yeah, and I know
Yes.
I know there's something in the works. We talked about it like 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Demon Slayer is just the hot thing right now. So,
Yeah. So
Chic.
mine's in a similar vein to Green's. Full Metal Alchemist.
oh, that would be
Just
so
went all
good.
anime, just 100% anime.
Here's
High action anime.
dude, imagine how cool, like, you could, like, you know, make a character with auto mail. You can, you know, imagine all the different, like, as long as you can explain it with alchemy, like, you can do it. You know, it has a hard magic rule system, so, you know, you don't have to do a ton of building with it. You can just be, you know, like Hawkeye and just be like a sharpshooter, right? Like Full Metal Alchemist, or it, depending on if you're in Brotherhood um, or in 2003.
Full series,
Yeah,
What's
just
that?
OG.
original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're like in Manga Hood or in 03, it's like Alka history can be, you know, involved or not, you know. Fantastic. I think a Full Metal Alchemist TTRPG would be badass. But guys, let us know your answers in the chat right now. You can also let us know on Spotify and in the YouTube comments. Go on ahead and answer that question for us. Mendacii,
Hello.
I think you have a bit of an update to tell us about.
Yeah, I sure do.
All right.
And it's one that I wasn't really like, I don't want to put it. I was really surprised. And pleasantly so. I'm going to talk about the updates that were made to Stray Souls, which is still in alpha. So I talked about Stray Souls a couple weeks back by Jukai Studio out of Japan, and had a pretty lukewarm time with it, um, and more of a deconstructive time with it. And this time I spent a lot more time being very constructive. So a small note may have been present when I originally checked out this demo. There are some placeholder animations and objects. It's right there, right before you hit start game. So if you do end up checking out this demo, I want you to clock that and really hold it close and think about it the whole time that you're playing. That small note really does a lot for players who don't know what to expect from an alpha build of a game. So keep in mind, it's going to be a little rough, and sometimes more so here and there. All of the undesirable dialogue that was present in the original version is gone, and it comes out so much better for it. The lines that remained instill more of an air of curiosity in the characters, and the voice acting itself is still superb. It's really good stuff. The changes to the actual gameplay were actually awesome. It felt like the actions you took in the game had reason and direction, which made it feel like a cohesive experience. Finding objects and notes left by other people also gave it a much more lived in feel. At one point, you can't find the keys to unlock a ranger's vehicle. But, and I'll be honest, I was wandering super hard, but thankfully, the developers from Jukai Studio came and hung out with us in chat while we were checking out this demo. And they let me go and be really dumb on stream for a while, just investigating the area before they're like, "Do you want to hit?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So they showed me where to find a pretty cool, like, nice handwritten note from one ranger to another, which then led us over to a different place where the key was. And what they did there, the environment kind of changed and shifted, and it kind of gave it this almost nightmare logic kind of feel. Like, I know that I've walked by that place like 30 times, and that wasn't there. And your character even makes the vocal like acknowledgement of it, like, what the fuck. It's pretty interesting, especially coming from where it was before this update. The design changes are also doing great work in the mood setting department. The wind, it threatens to blow down every tree around you, and at times it keeps you on edge without any actual imminent danger. The ever present crows, and there are many crows, pique your interest, and also create a great foreboding ambiance around you as they squawk. They rest on the tree limbs, they rest on different gravestones and stuff. And yes, there are a couple glitches and everything like that, but that is to be expected again with this alpha build, and didn't overall take away from the experience. Running from enemies, which we found out to be named martyr worms from the developers, feel terrifying and great. Like, they are disgusting. They are really well made. Um, they take you right back to like Silent Hill 2, running around in the streets, being very worried about where your next case of bullets is going to come from. But in this, so far, the gun feels incredibly powerful. Maybe not overpowered. That's because it's kind of in the hands of someone who's inexperienced. The recoil forces you to remain calm and collected as you try to line up your shot again. Your hard work is then rewarded with the enemies exploding like balloons filled with blood, which persists all over the environment. We just kind of hung out after we took care of all of the martyr worms and just kind of like enjoyed the area. And the blood never left. And not only that, something that I thought was insane that no one ever does is it was actually reflecting the environment around it. It was catching light off of the skybox and reflecting trees all around it. Super crazy. The overall experience handles so much better and paints a much more vivid picture of what Stray Souls plans to offer in the future. It was also during this time that Stray Souls developers had kind of told us, they're like, hey, we haven't told anyone. And so I totally apologize if I wasn't supposed to say anything, but they didn't say I wasn't. So the alpha part of this demo does take place in a smaller region of a forest that's in this game. And previously, my conception was the entire game would be taking place in an old manor style house, like a la Resident Evil 1. And while that can be exciting, like, to know that there's a lot of different areas that are quite different is pretty exciting. As a closing note, though, the folks over at Jukai Studio that hung out and chat while we went through the whole demo were so kind, fun, and understanding as they took notes from us and explained any of the difficulties that they have had to truck through during the ongoing pandemic, such as not being able to get into a motion capture studio to do more fluid animations or the animations that they really wanted to use in some of the kind of different obstacles and things like that that we got to play through. You can tell they really care about this project and that they are giving it 100%. I can now happily say that I recommend anyone with an open mind and an understanding that alpha builds can play a little rough to check out Stray Souls. Please do, in fact. And then tell them what you thought on Twitter at Stray Souls Game. They'd love to hear from you, I'm sure.
Excellent. So it sounds like the game is in kind of going in the right direction from your perspective.
Yes. Yes.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Did they change the animation of how the carts are pushed?
No. So the reason behind that is that object, they have actually joked about it. So, like, they don't mean for that to necessarily be the thing.
Oh,
But
okay.
that is, like, what they have to work with right now.
So like essentially a placeholder object.
Yes, it is a
Okay.
placeholder object. So you could probably imagine that they didn't really think like, yeah, let's put an animation of someone walking with a shopping cart, because who really knows how many shopping carts you're going to find around this survival horror game.
Could end up being like a box or something like that.
A box, yeah, likely, I'm imagining, or like an armoire, that's hiding a secret door, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I want to play in grocery cart mode.
Yeah, I want to play grocery cart mode too.
any accomplished gamer, I watched a video of the game on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It reminds me of Silent Hill, obviously, with all the fog and there were birds everywhere. You mentioned the birds. Like every time I skipped ahead in the video, there was a new bird flying in.
Yeah. There's birds.
Is
Birds
there
Everywhere.
is there an explanation for the birds?
I think that right now they're trying to kind of like get a feel for how much they want the environment to kind of really play in. Their biggest thing that they added, or like that they brought more focus on from like the previous alpha build, was that they brought in the wind and weather kind of functions. And so I think that they added a lot more birds, and they actually did make note of it. Like when they were watching, they're like, "That's a lot of crows." And like when one got like stuck to me, and I was like, they're like, "Okay, we need to do something about these birds." Like, yeah, the birds are bad, man. They're everywhere. There's a bird problem here.
It's Bird Simulator 2022.
Oh God, yeah, like Hitchcock. Yeah.
Real suspenseful horror there. Just birds.
Imagine
It's a
getting
run from
dive
the
bombed.
birds.
Yeah. Just getting dive bombed like 30 times in like, I don't know, 10 minutes. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I did think the protagonist looked like he was running with a full diaper. So it's good
Yeah.
that they're redoing the motion capture.
Yes, yeah. That was one of the things. Like they were like, "We're so sorry. We know it looks rough." And I was like, "It's alpha. Like I'm not here to shit on your game, dude, but like
We'll do
that's
that
cool.
later.
Yeah, we'll do it later when you put hundreds of more hours into it. We're like, "Meh, I don't like it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saving that for the official review.
Just pencil it in. But yeah, it was so nice like to have them being like, "Yeah, wow, this is really insightful. Like thank you so much for all the like different ideas that you have here and the things that you found and everything." It was super cool. Super cool to have them in
It's
chat.
cool. Yeah, that you got to play with them watching.
Yeah, it was not on my fucking bingo card. I'll tell you that.
What was on your bingo card?
Finding a single gas station that works in this country, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Was there anything else on Stray Souls?
Anybody? Nothing?
Mm.
I'm good.
Is this something anyone can play? Like the alpha, you can just go download it?
Yep. Yeah, it's free completely on Steam. So you just have to search Stray Souls and check it out. You don't have to worry about any versions or anything like that. When you download it, it is the newest version. Yeah, I mean like I said, they want people to check it out. They want to hear what you have to say about it, and overall they want you to have a good time.
I'm gonna start playing games on Twitch because I haven't played games since the mid '90s.
Oh,
It'll be so inept. It'll be hilarious.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. Every time be like, "Ha ha, he doesn't know what he's doing."
Be stuck in a grocery cart for 3 hours.
What is this? Controller?
Yeah.
No, I have to use the keyboard shortcuts.
Okay. Well, Cup, you said you don't really game, but you do some Call of Cthulhu. And I thought, we have you on. Let's talk about Call of Cthulhu and kind of what it is as a tabletop RPG. Me and Green both have a one shot under our belts with Call of Cthulhu. That's all we've really done with it.
God, I still have nightmares from that. Flashbacks, like Vietnam flashbacks of just Call of Cthulhu.
But yeah, so I kind of wanted to just kind of discuss Call of Cthulhu, and anyone who's like maybe heard about the Call of Cthulhu tabletop RPG, like what is it? What can I do to get into it? Kind of stuff like that.
So,
go ahead.
What one shot did you play before I forget?
Oh, it was a homebrew situation. My friend,
okay, cool.
One of my best friends made a one shot called Attack of the Tooth Man, and I played a Alex Jones-esque radio host. who is it, or maybe someone more like Art Bell or George Norrie. If
And
I'm just asking questions.
he DM'd it so beautifully and was absolutely terrifying.
yeah, he did.
Nice.
He scared me on the inside. Like,
Yeah.
I was a baby.
That's what's fun about it, I think.
Yeah. So Cuppy, just to like get like a little bit of like validity. Like, let's establish your authority on Call of Cthulhu here. How long have you been playing Call of
Jesus.
Cthulhu?
Since our first podcast episode, so 2 years. It was almost exactly 2 years ago that we released our first episode. Tabletop RPGs missed me somehow, and I found them. It's weird to say later in life, like just sitting here thinking about how old I am.
As you're
but
staring at a sunset, on park benches.
Exactly. In my twilight years, I started playing Call of Cthulhu. But I was attracted to it because it was a horror game. I didn't really want to play high fantasy D&D. Also, it's very saturated, obviously, if you're playing D&D. And I thought to have a podcast, maybe Call of Cthulhu was still really big, but also there weren't that many good shows. So yeah, and it's easy. So I was going to be the GM, and I'd look through the rules. Obviously getting into the nuance takes a little bit of work, but it's all kind of percentage skill based stuff. So conceptually, I think it's easy to understand if your character's a 60 in climb, you have a 60% chance of making the climb, and you want to roll under that number, and that just carries through the whole game. So it's really easy to get started. Maybe you found that with your one shot as well. You can kind of learn enough to be dangerous in 30 minutes or an hour. And I think that the things you described, being scared green, I think that's what makes it fun. You can, most tabletops, you have a lot of humor going on, but also there are really tense moments in Call of Cthulhu. So that ability to drive suspense and surprise players and turn on gore at unexpected moments, I think is really fun. It's more of a game of acts where it kind of starts with the investigation and build up and concludes with, usually, especially in a one shot, like something incredible, some cosmic horror that you're basically hopeless against most of the time.
Oh yeah, we were absolutely hopeless. We all died. He intended for all of us to die.
Yeah, a lot of one shots are like that, but yeah, you're incredibly outmatched and you're just regular squishy humans. And I think that makes it fun. I like it a lot. I think it's good for one shots and campaigns. Some systems aren't like that. They're good for one or the other. So that's another kind of part of the appeal for me. Of course, we play in the Old West most of the time. That's what our main arc, Y'all of Cthulhu, is. And I like the combination of Old West and cosmic horror. I think, it's been, Hollywood has dabbled in it, maybe cowboys and aliens, that kind of thing.
Bone
But
Tomahawk. If you
yeah,
haven't checked
Bone
out-
Tomahawk
oh,
is pretty
man.
close. Yeah, to the genre, but I think it's underexplored, and you can do a lot with it. And westerns stand on their own, I think. So it's interesting even without the horror elements, and then you kind of layer that on top, and it gets really exciting. A little more exciting than maybe the 1920s Call of Cthulhu for me, but those games are good too.
Now, what about 1895 Louisiana and cosmic horror?
Yeah, you should do that. Exactly. There's not enough Bayou cosmic horror. I think we played a one shot by Graham Patrick. I guess like 3 months ago. What was it, La Recette? And that took place in the Bayou in the swamps, and it was a lot of fun. It was more 1920s, I think.
Yeah.
No, it was modern day. Sorry.
Oh, I was just
Danny, I absolutely love that you're making a pitch for a Call of Cthulhu Hunt Showdown crossover.
100%. By the way,
Yeah.
Cuppy, a game that me and Green play like every fucking day is called Hunt Showdown, and it's set in 1895 Louisiana with cosmic horror entities.
The
that's perfect.
sculptor has created monsters in the bayou.
You could play Down Darker Trails then, which is the Old
Oh.
West extension to Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go down Louisiana way with it, and I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So so we kind of have like a basis, like people kind of know now, I think, what kind of game Call of Cthulhu is. They kind of have a picture in their head now. But how is Call of Cthulhu played? Is this like a game where you're going to need like minis and maps, and are you going to need like 30 different sets of dice? Do you need like your own proprietary dice? What kind of books you need? Like, kind of explain how someone can get into Call of Cthulhu, and maybe like the more budget friendly ways to get into it.
Yeah, sure. So as a player, you really only need a character sheet, and that can come via a pre-generated character that comes with the scenario or that the keeper provides, or you can make your own character, which is a little more fun. But if you're trying to run the game, you can download the quick start rules. I feel like I'm shilling it now, but you just go to Chaosium's website. They're the ones who produce the game. You can download their quick start rules, which are free. They have free scenarios on there. The haunting is kind of a classic. So you just pick up the quick start rules, you run the haunting, see if you like it. And if you do like it, they have a starter set, which I think is like $6 on DriveThruRPG most of the time. And so that's a pretty, I think, low price point to get into a game that's, the number 2 tabletop RPG. I like to have like the physical books and things like that. So the starter set must be like $20 to $30 or something like that if you want to go that route. And if you really want to run a campaign, I think the Keeper's Handbook, which is probably going to run you $40 to $50, is the way to go. But yeah, start with the quick start stuff. See if you like it. I think it's probably not right for some tables, but if you're people who can kind of get involved in scary role playing and also kind of cut it up together at the same time, I think you can have a lot of fun with it.
Excellent.
Or listen to the podcast if it sounds fun. Jump in. Yeah, I should plug all the time.
Always be plugging.
Yeah.
ABP. Always be plugging.
But it's very like and you can play pulpy games. So I think if you like The Mummy and Indiana Jones and things like that, it's very adaptable to those kind of settings. It doesn't always have to be a 1920s manor in London or Boston.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people do, like, when they think the Cthulhu mythos, they do think of like all the settings of H.P. Lovecraft and boggy, foggy cities on the East Coast, and men lost at sea and stuff like that.
Yeah. I kind of want to play, and I haven't played a Cthulhu at Sea type game yet. On my list, they have some stuff at Innsmouth, and there's like a Corsairs of Cthulhu now. You can be pirates on the high seas.
Ooh.
So they have a lot of settings. There are a lot of setting books. They have a Berlin book. There's a book for France. There's one for Australia. So you can get into a lot of things depending on your own interests.
Yeah. So if someone's looking to get into Call of Cthulhu, like how many different editions are there? And is Call of Cthulhu, like when you were kind of like looking into starting with it, is it one of those things where there's like diehard Call of Cthulhu 3.5 fans who there's never going to be another version of this game that's better than 3.5? They should never have went for a 4 or a 5, stuff like that. Like, is there like an edition you recommend people get into?
So the current edition is 7th edition. I think that's the best one to jump into. I don't think it's like Pathfinder and D&D where there's a lot of tension between people playing the different editions because rules haven't changed that much. They've kind of made the math easier on the dice rolling and not that much more. It's really just advancing the system and the setting more than it is doing an overhaul of the rules, I would say. The first edition is not that different from the current edition, but it is different. But I'm sure there are some diehards out there that are like, I only play 6th edition or 1st edition or whatever. But I don't ever see them. They don't come across our show or my timeline or anything like that.
Okay.
Are you gonna be that guy? Are you gonna go buy like 5th edition and just like that's your thing?
There's no other version of the game that exists except for 3.5.
That could be your niche, though. You could start a Call of Cthulhu podcast, and you're like the niche guy who only plays 5 or 4.
Yeah. Just and be insufferable about it.
Oh yeah.
If
the player even suggests something that's from a future edition, just like kill them immediately.
Yeah.
And then
the player, not the player character.
Yeah. Well, and then, whenever Call of Cthulhu introduces changes in how they're going to editorialize their lore, just freak out. Orcs aren't evil anymore? What?
Oh yeah. There's a little less of like the fighting. There's so much fighting. Every time I jump into D&D on Twitter or something, they're just all attacking each other about something. There's a little bit of that with Call of Cthulhu, but I think there's an expectation of what kind of game you're going to be playing, where D&D, has such a massive audience that there's always something new to fight about.
Yeah. Do you think that the Call of Cthulhu player community is a little bit more aware of their racism or potential racism than D&D can be?
Yeah,
just because of the
I think
source material.
Yeah, I think that so that's one thing that I think is interesting about Call of Cthulhu is that, well, H.P. Lovecraft was like a known piece of shit. So I think that there's, especially new players going in, kind of go in with that awareness, thinking, I think for us, it gave us more freedom to try new things, because we're like, oh, we don't give a shit about this guy's lore. We're going to use the things we like. And, hopefully if he was alive today, he'd be really mad about the things we're doing. But, I'm sure there are some people who, got into it and have the same shitty ideas as H.P. Lovecraft. But again, we kind of, I think the way you carve out your own table, and if you're doing it publicly, your own stream and your own podcast, you start to attract the people who you want to attract, unless you're Critical Role, and then you attract everyone in the world and you have to deal with that. But lots of money to make up for having to deal with that. So,
True.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would say the players like don't know anything about Lovecraftian horror, which I like because they don't know when I'm messing up. But also it just gives us a lot of freedom to, like in season 1, Will, who was kind of writing lore for the story, he made up a new god and nobody cared because, we didn't know what we were doing. And it's fun.
Yeah. Well, and I also feel like when it comes to Lovecraft mythos, because it's open source and the history of Lovecraft mythos is not Lovecraft did not write every single story and every single character that's in the mythos. It is like encompassing of several different authors. So I think there's definitely like people should be a little bit more forgiving about that, because it's like it's not one person and it's a lot of different authors.
Exactly. And I think it's grown a lot in the last decade. So we're seeing a lot of new types of voices in the cosmic horror space. And I think that's good for the game. But there's a little bit of friction with the history that's there with H.P. Lovecraft and trying to play the game in a modern way.
Yeah. So
the rules don't like tell you to be racist and things like that, though. So you can, you don't have to be H.P. Lovecraft playing the game. Yeah, that would be a problem.
Apply your clown makeup, put on your squeaky nose and your shoes. Now you can play.
Yeah, but there are a lot of crappy people out there probably playing this, just like there are for D&D and any other system. But you just ignore those people or publicly shame them and move on.
Yeah. So moving on from that, now, so the term for the game master it's not dungeon master or game master, it's lore master.
Keeper of arcane lore.
There we go. Keeper of arcane lore.
Like lore master, though.
Lore master.
Lore master is cool.
So anyone who's looking to start a game, and if they're like me, they get to, or Mendacii, they are the forever game runner. What are some tips that you would give someone who's going to start their first game as a keeper of arcane lore?
So I think that one thing is that you can't go in with the expectation that you're actually going to scare the players. And I don't even know that should be your goal. It's really hard at a table to create an atmosphere where, you're going to get jump scares from players. And I think that maybe some people going into horror RPGs for the first time have that expectation. So just don't worry about that at all. You can do your best to build up tense moments and memorable scenes, but don't think that you're going to have the players like falling backward out of their chairs. Although it sounds like Green did, so whoever was running that game, I think probably did a commendable job.
Oh yeah, Quan is very very committed to his DMing, and I genuinely thought there was something mentally wrong with him.
Well, I mean, there
because he
is.
was he was describing a scene where a character was picking his teeth out
Mhm.
and cackling and laughing, and he was playing it out, and it was terrifying.
Just pulling his teeth out, that is commitment.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was like sitting there, like, and then like,
Yeah.
he mimicked someone like spitting out blood and talking at the same time,
Okay.
and he was very committed, and it was mad, like a mad kudos for
Yeah.
how he did it.
And a lot of the things I would tell a new keeper are the same things you would tell a GM in any game. So you're kind of trying to build a game that the players are going to have fun playing. So if they're not really into all the gore and things, you need to be able to read that and make adjustments. And I think that's fine. You don't have to run the game you thought it was going to be. Just kind of follow the lead of the players. And I think this is a problem I still have sometimes. Don't get hung up on like, oh, this clue is hidden behind a spot hidden check. And if they fail that, like the whole scenario is out the window. You have to be willing to give them like a little bit of information or delay them in their search or something like that, but still advance the story. And that just kind of keeps the narrative rolling, and you don't have to on the fly think of, oh my gosh, how am I going to change the whole story? They didn't find the key that they needed to get into the secret passageway or whatever the case may be. So be mindful of that. I think in D&D they often talk about like the rule of three ways to find a clue, that kind of thing. I guess the rule of three is like a photography thing, but anyway, 3 ways to find a clue. I think that's good. That's good advice. And other than that, I think just a willingness to improvise and move away from the scenario when it is going a little bit differently, even if you've done everything that you can to kind of stack clues and give them a lot of illusion of choice. Make them think that they chose to go into the caves when really all 3 paths led to the caves. God, I hope nobody's listening who plays with me. But sometimes that stuff pays off.
Yeah. So players, tips for players. Got any tips for players?
Yeah, I think that it's not a game that works well with like power gaming. So, there is a natural tendency you want to use the skills that you're good at, but I think doing that in a way that's at least a little bit realistic to the situation makes it a better game for the keeper and for the other players. So, if you've maxed out your climbing skill, you don't have to solve every puzzle by climbing on everything. Try to, even if you're going to fail, I think that actually that's my number one tip. Like failing is more fun than succeeding in Call of Cthulhu. So be willing to fail, be willing to lose sanity, be excited when you go into a bout of madness and embrace that. And it's a lot more fun. I think players who are like really guarded, like, oh, I don't want this character to suffer or to get hurt or to die, probably don't have as much fun as those who are freewheeling. And well, maybe there's like a sweet spot because I can be reckless when I'm a player, and maybe it's a little over the top. But either extreme is probably not the right way to do it. You're real people, so play it the way you would. Try to use theater of the mind, put yourself in that situation. What would you do? But at the same time, if you call the police at all times or run away at all times, that's not fun either.
Yeah.
So, embrace the story at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I probably in real life would not attempt to fight a 200-foot tall eldritch god,
or
well,
even
probably
just
shouldn't
like
in
a
the game
6-foot
either.
tall one. Yeah. Like just a formless being with scythe limbs. You probably wouldn't be like, all right, motherfucker, you come here. Like you're gonna be like, I just shit my pants, I'm going.
You know what? I think I'm
So-
gonna try to exercise this demon here.
Yeah. And one shots I think are a little bit different. Start with one shots. You can be more reckless and kind of loose with the player safety. But yeah, when you get into a campaign, that kind of thing, it out with a little bit of realism makes it more fun, I think.
Yeah.
And also just like be mindful of the other players. Don't hog the spotlight. Don't try to diminish what they're doing. Try to feed off each other. You know, just like any tabletop game, I imagine.
Yeah. So we have a question here from the chat from our podcast historian, the Chuckalod. At Cuppy, are there set combat skills for Call of Cthulhu or exclusively players' imagination based on successful rolls?
Yeah, so there is combat, but it's not that crunchy, I think, compared to other systems. So you do have a fighting brawl skill, which you're going to use if you're using like melee weapons or hand-to-hand combat. And you'll have firearms skills. So depending on what era you're in. So we play like a pulpy old west, not the way it really was. Everyone has, 6 shooters and rifles and things like that. So you'll have a rifle skill, you'll have a handgun skill. Shotgun is kind of coupled with the rifle skill. And you use those a lot in combat. But at the same time, you can, because it's like Green mentioned, you don't always want to fight the 30-foot monster. You can try to be creative about it. So maybe instead of shooting it with a gun, you figure out some other way to cave in the building on top of the monster or set it on fire. So you're not always going to rely on those basic combat skills that you have. Working together, being creative. Usually the keeper will pay that off in some way, I think.
Yeah. So
it's easy to learn, though. The combat's pretty easy to learn.
Yeah. So I've got one last question that I want to ask here, and then we probably need to go to a break. What are some of your favorite moments from playing Call of Cthulhu? Like 1 or 2.
Ooh. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of a way to do this without spoilers. So I think that one time I really surprised a player with the degree of body horror that I was about to use with them in a scene, and it was a one-on-one session, and we just had this incredibly tense but fun exchange where they were basically dismembering themselves to learn a spell. And I think it really came through in the show too. So I think that was really fun. And other than that, I really like to, we'll have a seed that's planted in, the first 2 sessions, and then paying that off 12 sessions later or 14 sessions later is always fun. But since we play Old West, anytime there's like a gun duel, like one of those classic, kind of Clint Eastwood movie moments, I really like that. So, as many high noon duels as I can get. I love those, especially if the players lose. I think it's a lot of fun, Call of Cthulhu, when the players don't win.
Excellent.
Those weren't specific moments. I kind of did it vaguely.
Yeah.
Well, Mendacii knows the story, so they're specific to him. Yeah. Oh.
Awesome. Anything else that we wanted to mention with Call of Cthulhu?
Oh, but a good game.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, there are a lot of streams and things you can go watch to kind of get a taste for the game, but the best way is just to get the quick start rules and jump in with the haunting or the dead border or one of the free scenarios. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't start with the solo adventures. I think they're just not as fun. It's okay for learning the rules, but it's not really going to give you the right flavor for the game. So try to do a one shot instead with, maybe 3 other people.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And of course, if people want to learn way more about the game, where can they go?
Want to learn more about our game, they can go to ain'tslayednobody.com or search for Ain't Slayed Nobody on a podcast app. If they want to learn more about the game, they can go to chaosium.com, which, they make the game and produce all the official material. RPG is another good place to buy things, buy the PDFs.
Excellent. Well, guys, let's take a quick break. Be back after 2 minutes. We still have Humble Bundle news to talk about and Activision Blizzard and Microsoft. Stay right there.
Hello, Danie is being lazy and has decided to have a text-to-speech robot record this message for you instead of doing it himself. He wants you to know that you can help support the show by telling your friends. Telling your friends about the show helps us grow and help more people save money while gaming. It's also free. You can tweet about us, share us on Facebook, or even send a message directly to your friends and family with a link to the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, or leave a comment. That helps tell the algorithm that you like this kind of content and would recommend it. Thanks for watching and listening. The show will resume in just a few moments. P.S. Green Elite has bad taste in Pokemon.
And we're back. Guys, let's talk a little bit about Humble Bundle, huh? We got some news about Humble Bundle, which I think will probably interest our audience here. So before we get into the story, full disclosure, full transparency, we are Humble Bundle affiliates, and while we do our best to not let that color our coverage of Humble Bundle, it is something that we want to disclose that we do have potential financial incentives involved in these stories. So just be aware of that. Take what we say as a grain of salt. So the news is that Humble Bundle is tweaking its Humble Choice subscription service from a tiered system starting at $5 a month to $20. So the tiered system ranges from $5 a month to $20 a month. They are now changing it to a flat rate of $12 a month. The service is going to be similar to Game Pass, or the service is similar to Game Pass, I should say, where each month a new set of games is available to players to play. So now of course, subscribers will have the option to skip a month or cancel at any time if they decide the games that are on offer are not something they would like. It should also be noted that 5% of the membership will still be going to charity, as a basic principle of Humble Bundle is that the portion of the proceeds all go to charity. They also introduced the Humble Games Collection, a curated library that will only be accessible to members. It will feature a quote, community and critical favorites, and will be available through a new Humble launcher. They had a quote here about the Humble launcher. Quote, in the new Humble app, you'll be also find more than 50 DRM free indie games, experimental oddities, and other experiences inside the vault, which you can download while you're a member and keep playing even after your membership ends, which is a pretty sweet deal, at least I think. What do you guys think?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, it's not bad.
Green?
I have a question. This is my first exposure to Humble Bundle.
Mm-hmm.
Do the games go away at the end of the month? How does that work?
Yeah, so typically Humble Bundle, their kind of bread and butter is that they sell game packages for cheap, and the money is split between Humble Bundle creators if you go through an affiliate code and to a charity. This month, the Humble Choice or Humble Monthly system is, I believe you get access to it for a month and then it goes away. And then they have other stuff that like the Humble Trove that is now getting wrapped up into this service. Part of this is that they're consolidating some of their services that they have, so it's not so disparate and like weird for people. But I think you could like add games to your Trove and just have them available to you. But yeah, so it very similar to Game Pass, where it's just like you have games constantly coming in rotation and out of rotation.
Not overly hyped about a new launcher though.
No,
I think we've had enough.
Yeah, at least with Humble being a new or having a new launcher app, at least it's just another store and not a publisher.
Yeah.
Like that, like it's not like Take-Two making a whole new launcher, and then you also have to have the GTA launcher, and then you have to have the Ubisoft Play Now launcher or whatever the fuck they call that. You know, you don't have to have
Origin.
Yeah, it's not a publisher launcher. It's a store launcher, which I would be more willing to have a store launcher, like multiple store launchers, than I would to have multiple publisher launchers. Holy cow, that was difficult to get out. But yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of the story. I don't really think it's a bad thing for anyone except for the folks that are paying the $5 a month tier service. They're getting a price jacked up to almost double. I think over double. But yeah, the new app, Vault, other perks should make up for that, at least in my opinion. Mendacii, what do you think?
I think the biggest thing for me is with this kind of subscription service and stuff like that. Obviously, we still have the option to buy games in the bundles and everything like that, like we used to, and like we still do, I'm assuming. But what I can see this being is a lot less people buying those unless they really want like a full solid copy of this thing. So does that mean, is this kind of almost like a weird backdoor way of Humble trying to net more money in their pockets, less into other charities? Like that's kind of the only thing I can really think of is, obviously Game Pass is exceptionally, like that is a great marketing idea. So is it going to take from some of the money that's going to charities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not quite sure. And I am kind of curious as to the money for charity that Humble Bundle raises, how much of it is from the monthly services as opposed to just the bundles themselves. Because a lot of the bundles, I think, like you can get something of like $300 worth of games for like $5 sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I literally got over $400 worth of Pathfinder second edition books, digital, and I believe I got a hard copy of their second edition starter kit, which is what I'm going to use to get my players to transition from first edition, which I've been GMing for 13 years. I'm going to use that to transition into second edition. And so like, and I used our affiliate link for that. I thought that was super cool. And then being able to still choose where some of that money goes and to, like put some towards Paizo, but also be able to choose, like any charity, like that's sick. I've been kind of off and on, hot and cold with Humble because of like their changes of like, well, you can only take down how much we get so far. Like, it used to be like, you know what, Humble, like you're cool and shit, but like bare minimum, and I want all of this money to go to charity. But now it's like they've kind of raised their own bar. I kind of see this as like a marketing idea to kind of get around that. I mean, at least it could potentially be that. But then again, I'm kind of cynical. I'll say it, I'm kind of cynical. I'm a little pessimistic.
I mean, it does cost money to get Steam codes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Green, what do you think?
You've already asked me.
Did I ask you? I mean, I asked you kind of like in the beginning of the story, or am I crazy?
Exactly.
Okay. No, I mean, my biggest thing is the launcher. Like, do I really want to download another launcher? But other than that, I'm not overly like, I don't do the subscription tiers anyways. So like, I don't think it's really gonna affect me. As long as like you can do like still buy the bundles themselves with like, 6 to 20 games for $20, I'm fine with it.
Gotcha. Cup, what do you think? Any thoughts, opinions that you want to share?
I don't know. It does say that they're still going to give 5% of memberships to charity. So it's $12 now. Maybe they'll give more to charity. I just see a banner that says, "Thank you for supporting Wolfie Gordon." And I was just thinking about how I can't say that name. So it's the first thing I saw on the website. So yeah, I've been out of gaming since the 90s, so I don't understand. I had like a Blockbuster monthly membership where I could go take as many hard copy games home as I wanted for like N64 or whatever the hell it was at that time. But yeah, this is all like, ooh, Steam, what is that? A whole new world for me.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of N64 games that have been ported over to PC.
Yeah,
Can you
I
play
have
Sierra
Pod
games
Racer.
here? Yeah.
probably. I'm waiting for
Yeah.
Genesis, man. I'm waiting for my Sega Genesis games to show up.
Well,
That would be me. I'd be going in and playing Toe Jam and Earl for hours and hours.
it's funny you mentioned Sierra Games because that's just kind of a perfect segue. You know, Sierra Games was bought by Activision, right?
They were, yes.
Yeah.
Pretend this
And-
was intentional.
So Activision Blizzard is reportedly getting bought by Microsoft for $68.7 billion with a B dollars. And for anyone that was curious, $68.7 billion American. Okay, they're not buying them they're not buying it Canadian or in rubles.
Euros.
Pesos.
Pesos, yeah. Nope, American dollars.
Pesetas.
Yeah, so that news broke today, which finally we have a breaking story that we can talk about the day of the show. But of course, this news comes after months of massive backlash within and without of Activision Blizzard that has spurred on employee walkouts and layoffs. Which again, shout out to our friend AOB, who is still fighting for his colleagues over there at Ravensoft. Green, you look like you had to say something.
No,
Okay.
no, that's just my regular facial expression. Sorry.
Yeah. And it just seems like for the last since July, Activision Blizzard has not been able to fix its culture in any meaningful way, or make the strides to fix their culture in any meaningful way.
Absolutely shit in the bed.
Yeah. So this buyout comes at a very interesting time for Activision Blizzard. It also does explain possibly why heads weren't rolling and why the trash wasn't getting taken out of Activision Blizzard maybe until this point, because it was just earlier this last week where something like 3 Activision troubled employees were let go. So it does come at a very interesting time for the history of Activision Blizzard. But it also comes at an interesting time because Microsoft's history, in which last year they broke records that were with their purchase of ZeniMax Media, that were only broken like a few weeks ago by Take-Two, which I think. So the ZeniMax deal was $7.5 billion, with the Take-Two deal that just happened a few weeks ago of Zynga being something like $17 billion, I believe. If one of you guys could, if Green, you could fact check me on that. The Take-Two Zynga deal. So yeah, this is absolutely shattering records. This acquisition, should it go through, will put Microsoft in third place for largest gaming publisher. Tencent will still hold the number one spot, and Sony will be number two still. If that puts into perspective how big of a deal this is.
Yeah, 12.7.
12 points. Oh, okay. So I was off by quite a bit.
Yeah. 12.7 billion. Yeah.
Yeah. So, right, obviously a huge deal, but like, why does it matter to anyone other than gaming nerds, and why will it actually impact your wallet? And the answer to that is we're not quite sure yet. It doesn't seem like right now that Microsoft is looking to wall off a bunch of the properties that they are acquiring here. So it might be that I think a lot of these properties like Call of Duty and Overwatch will probably still be available to Sony players and Nintendo players if they're available on those platforms. but there hasn't been a lot of solid confirmation on that. The announcement was just made, unless you guys found something more solid than what I did.
Imagine Call of Duty going exclusive. That would be insane. I honestly don't think they would actually do that.
No.
Yeah. Any multi-platform title that they have going exclusive would just be a shot in their own ass, honestly. And I know that they have made note that any sort of deals that they had prior that would be for exclusives, they would not hold on to. So it seems like they do really want to move forward. And there was actually a pretty big emphasis on what Phil Spencer had said was that, hey, all of these games that they do, we're going to make sure that you can play them anywhere on anything. Like that was kind of part of his closing speech in reference to the buyout. The only other thing that I have to add to that buyout that I thought was insane is that 68.7 in cash. Like
Cash.
actual cash. They physically, with real cash money, bought those stocks at I think it was like $95 a stock.
Woof.
Yeah, man. Just that's fucking wild to me. Like I don't even want to imagine what $68.7 billion in American dollars looks like physically.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's
That could
hard to
crush and
imagine.
kill- That could kill so many people. Just dumping on them. Yeah.
Avalanche of cash, just
Yeah.
bricks of cash.
Sorry, I got crushed by money.
Yeah, well,
What?
and it Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one of the stats or facts that I saw that I thought was interesting was that this acquisition was as much as their 5 biggest prior acquisitions combined, and those weren't small companies. It's like LinkedIn and Bethesda Games, right? It's another
Yeah,
games
Yeah.
company.
ZeniMax, Bethesda.
And
Yep.
Skype and GitHub. So I mean, they this is huge. I mean, the magnitude of the acquisition, just in even outside of gaming, is just massive. And you know, all the articles are going to be like, you kind of started to touch on the issue. Like, do gamers need to worry that there's going to be a monopoly now, and they're going to have push exclusivity or price hikes. I think that stuff probably would manifest 5 years out, 10 years out. But I imagine, kind of like Mendacii said, they're going to try to keep everything available at least where it is today for the near term.
Yeah. Well, so there's a few things I kind of have some thoughts on the monopoly perspective on this. I think for regulators it's going to be hard for them to make the case that this is a monopoly because they're the third largest publisher now. Right? They still have 2 other competitors above them. Now, Tencent, I think they're concerned because they're on shifting sands all the time with the CCP. Anytime the CCP even looks in the direction of gaming, Tencent is like shitting bricks right now, constantly. But there's a lot of other analysts who are kind of saying that regulators might not look at this because they see Microsoft as a tech company, right? They're a hardware manufacturer, they're a software manufacturer, and they see Activision Blizzard as a entertainment company. Yes, it's still software, but it's more like a movie than it is like H&R Block's tax stuff, right? Like it's not software in the same way that Adobe products are, right? So a lot of people are saying that regulators probably won't look at this in terms of monopoly and probably won't block it, but there's always a chance of that. I don't think they will. Especially,
I don't think so either legally. Yeah. Because Microsoft now, I could be mistaken. Like I said, I've last been in this space in like the 90s, but they're more upstream, right? They're producing game systems. And typically, I think if you're adding kind of a large chunk of the downstream business, usually they won't stop that from a regulation perspective. If Microsoft was one of the top two, or they were already in that top three space, and then they were adding Activision Blizzard, like you said, that would be much more concerning from the monopolistic perspective. But I would imagine this would skate through.
Yeah. I also don't think so. Right, they made their purchase of ZeniMax in Bethesda last year for that 7.5, and there was a lot of concern to talk about exclusivity, and that they said that they were going to honor their exclusivity agreements. Most notably, I think Deathloop is a great example where that game had an exclusivity deal, timed exclusivity with Sony, and then they're like, okay, yeah, we're still going to keep that. I think with Activision Blizzard, Activision Blizzard has never really made exclusivity deals, at least not in recent years, especially for their big top earners.
They've done content exclusivity for like Destiny 2, Call of Duty, where like PlayStation will have like a certain game mode or map before Xbox, but never like a full title game.
Yeah. So I think for them, this purchase is really more about having these longer lasting, more top of mind properties that are consistently bringing in money. Like, you can put out a Halo, a Halo 3, a Halo 4, or whatever, or Halo Infinite. I think Halo Infinite's going to stay around a little bit longer than the others, right? But those games were only one-time purchases. You can have, with Obsidian, The Outer Worlds, that's not a game that will always bring in a ton of money for Microsoft. Same with any of the purchases from Bethesda, except for like ESO. So I think this is definitely a purchase where they're thinking these are things that will just constantly bring us money. A lot of these properties are already beloved. They already have a lot of name and cachet behind them, so we don't need to, squirrel them away on our systems. We can just get these royalty rights over and over and over and over and over again. I think that's what their plan is for this, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to listen to the opposite argument if someone had a compelling one.
No, man, I don't think I can actually even think about what that would look like logically. And to also add, like, think about this, man. They can kind of bankroll anything. Obviously, they bought Activision Blizzard. The money is not a problem. But now, like, they also have fucking World of Warcraft money. That's just gonna keep coming in every month. Like, there's people that if they haven't quit now, they're never gonna quit. And that game's really garbage now. So like you can kind of do whatever you wanted to it, and people are gonna keep playing it and keep paying you $15 a month. So like that means that they have what I want to say, and I could be wrong, but two MMOs, nope, three MMOs, right? Three MMOs under their belt if you count Destiny 2.
Well, Destiny is no longer under the Activision Blizzard umbrella.
Yeah, Bungie split off from Activision, so Bungie is its own title.
Okay, so Bungie isn't even affiliated with Microsoft.
No, Bungie is not in Activision Blizzard's blanket at all, period.
Okay, so we'll just say World of Warcraft and ESO.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, even just the idea, the logistics behind running one MMORPG is insane. So the fact that they have two under their little umbrella alongside everything that Blizzard has. I mean, BlizzCon is big enough that, like, we can kind of understand everything that, Microsoft now owns. And I don't know, I am kind of excited though. I think that the one thing that I had said, like, you know what? I could actually get behind and feel good about buying Diablo 4 now if Bobby Kotick does get the physical and metaphorical boot that he so deserves. On top of that, the crossplay of Diablo 4 could be fucking awesome. It really, I think that a lot of that is also kind of dependent on BattleNet, which was Blizzard in-house, all of that garbage. And so that's a launcher that could be getting revamped and redone as just a Microsoft launcher too. That's a really, really big overhaul. And we could see things like StarCraft getting some more love. We have no idea what was going on over at Blizzard, like the past 10 years as far as development goes, because they're so tight-lipped. And Microsoft is no dummy. They know that StarCraft makes money and so on and so forth. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing things like, you know, Three Vikings or whatever the heck it was called. I think it was just called Vikings, Lost Vikings. See Lost Vikings or something like that, get pulled out of the dirt and put back up on a pedestal, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, so you mentioned something there, and there is a discussion happening in the chat right now about Bobby Kotick leaving. And there's been a lot of rumors because there's been calls to have Bobby Kotick removed from Activision Blizzard for a very long time. So basically what's occurring there, for anyone that is curious, is that Bobby Kotick has said that he would remain as CEO of Activision once the deal is closed, or until the deal is closed. And then he will be available as needed to ensure that we have the very best integration.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's not a hard yes or no. It's very soft and kind of squirrely. I have a feeling that he's not going to remain there. I feel like Microsoft is going to want to put in one of their own boys or girls.
He needs to stay there so you can make sure that all that sexual harassment rolls over to the correct company.
Yeah, he needs to stay there so he can go on ahead and threaten his secretaries again. So
Piece of shit.
Yeah, it sounds like I have a feeling that Microsoft is not going to keep him there. I don't see why they would want him there, other than the fact that he did lead a company that was profitable, but also at what cost? He's a known toxic entity in that company. So yeah, the corporate doublespeak is definitely strong there. Nothing super firm on that. But yeah, any other thoughts, opinions that we wanted to get out on Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard?
No, sir.
Nothing?
No, not for me.
Cup?
I hope they bring back Pitfall. Pitfall franchise.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I'll play some Pitfall literally any day, dude.
Oh god. I am waiting for more Sierra titles, even though Sierra doesn't exist, I don't think. Or maybe they do.
Well, they're bought by Activision Blizzard and then they went dormant. But that does mean that Microsoft would now own all those rights. They could make more.
King's Quest 9. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. I think that's the show this week.
Made it. We did it.
We did it. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Let's start with CuppyCup. For anyone who didn't catch the first part of the show here, who are you, what do you do, and where can people find you?
Sure. I am the producer and keeper of Arcane lore for a podcast called Ain't Slayed Nobody. We play the Call of Cthulhu tabletop RPG, primarily in the Old West, and we are at ain'tslayednobody.com, or just search for Ain't Slayed Nobody on any podcast app, or find the one we're not on and let me know what it is. But this was a lot of fun. I'm often in rooms where I don't know what people are talking about, and this was one of the more comfortable of those situations. And I appreciate that.
We appreciate you coming on and telling us all
Thank
about
you.
Call of Cthulhu.
I'm glad we could bring you comfort.
The whole time after you said the blue sword, I was thinking about how I wanted to change my RPG answer to Smurfs, because I think the character building would be really intense. What personality trait are you giving your Smurf?
I am here for that.
Oh God.
God forbid you just choose to be, what is it, Lady Smurf? What's
Smurfette.
Thank you. Yeah.
Smurfette.
God forbid you choose to be Smurfette.
Oh yeah, that game's a bad idea. Now that you mention that.
Mr. Greenelite, what's coming
just
up
one
on your
girl.
channel?
I'm definitely gonna be playing some Hunt Showdown, as usual, as per quota. However, I just got gifted God of War, the new soft reboot God of War. So I am probably gonna be playing that this week. I'm super excited. Big shout out to Legendary Otis who gifted that for me, in full transparency. And yeah, you can catch that on twitch.tv/Mr. Greenelite. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the socials, TikTok. Be sure to check out my TikTok. I promise I'm making content for that. I just need to post it. But yeah, that's all, Mr. Greenelite.
Mendacii, what's coming up for you?
Yo, so I think later this week I'll be hopping right back into Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. It's been a really good time. We've got a full party now. Roster's really filling out. It's been a really good time. So if you want to come and just talk about wild ass ideas for character builds that you have, and I'll tell you if I would put them in my table or not. That seems to be the norm for when I stream that, and I super dig it. It's been a really good time. Otherwise, I will probably be checking out more of Grim Dawn or something that Brent ends up putting in front of me. Otherwise, in the future, very near future, I will be checking out Monster Hunter Rise and probably just doing a lot of that all over the place. Hopefully on Fridays and Saturdays is going to be my primary days. I do have one burning question. Oh, also, that's over at twitch.tv/Mendacii, Mendacii. And you can follow me on Twitter where I talk about a lot of indie games and prop up awesome podcast shows like Ain't Slayed Nobody. That is Mendacii_TTV. And so, yeah, if you want some hot goss or some hot takes, come check out my Twitter. You're more than invited. So, my burning question before I toss it back to you, Danie. Cup, season 2. I'm hungry. You got a date? You got a date yet, boy?
Well, you're a patron, so for you, February 22nd. For everyone else, March 1st will be episode 1. I do think we're going to go the first and third Tuesday every month, so you'll get kind of the bi-weekly thing you're looking for. But yeah, we're excited. I'm working hard. Graham's working hard, but we'll get there. I do want to shout out Yankee. I saw Yankee in the Twitch chat. So
Yeah, that's my fiance. Love that woman. We were so happy to have found your podcast, and man, you have spoiled us with all this swag that we get from there. I've gotten
nice.
A coffee mug. We got a shirt. I got a sick print for Christmas. Like,
that's right. We're merchandising.
Yeah, and I
that's
also
cool.
bought that Femur Mist shirt, that tank top, like right when that came out. I was like, "That's mine."
Nice.
Yeah, yoink.
Cool.
There's a lot of stuff to find out there that's really awesome as far as Ain't Slayed, and it means so much to me that you came on Next to Nothing. It was so cool to be able to sit down and chat with you, man. And just I appreciate what you do. You have an amazing show, and it brings a lot of people a lot of joy. So I hope that you have a great time doing it, and you can do it for a long time.
Thank you. And now I feel like I need to download Steam so that I can know what I'm talking about next time. Before season 3, I'll be like the expert on Monster Hunter and shit like that. No, that's cool. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Excellent. Coming up on my channel, I hope I can stream this week. I had some issues with the internet this weekend, kind of just related to the weather, I think. But yeah, Hunt Showdown. Hopefully PUBG downloads. I want to talk about PUBG now that it's free. But
I've tried so hard.
yeah, I literally, it's stuck at like 98% and it will not download. I don't know why. It's got me big sads. Otherwise, you guys can find me on Twitter at DanieK, DaniEcaE. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram, DanieK Media on TikTok, DanieK Media on TikTok and on Instagram. I don't really post there much. It's mostly just me lurking and liking Green's stuff and Baz's stuff. Otherwise, you guys can also find the show on YouTube. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up the show this week, guys. Thanks for watching and listening. Your time with us is always appreciated, but of course, we're not just interested in your time and attention. We want to know your thoughts and opinions. So go on ahead and let us know your thoughts and opinions on anything that we talked about this week. You can reach out to us on Twitter at next to nothing PC on Twitter. If you guys want to let us know there, there's also a Facebook account as well. You guys can just drop your comments on the YouTube video and let us know what you think about anything we talked about this week. You guys can also answer the question of the week, which is, what property would you like to see turned into a tabletop RPG? Go on ahead and answer that in the YouTube comments as well. Of course, guys, if you missed any part of the show and want to take us on the go, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. If you want to catch us live, you can find us live on Twitch every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. If you guys like what we do and want to help support the show, you guys can drop a like or subscribe on YouTube and ring that bell. That really does help us out a ton. If you really want to take it to the next level, though, the number one way to help out the show is by telling your friends. Seriously. Like a retweet, just sharing on social media. It really helps us out a ton. Guys, until then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep fighting the good fights, and we'll talk to you guys again next week. Bye!
I love you.
Out there.